Welcome to Perspectives in Mobile, the news podcast from the Mobile Ecosystem Forum. Join us discussing the world of telecommunications, technology, and mobile innovations. From London, Dario Betti, MEFFYS CEO.
Hello everyone and welcome to Perspectives in Mobile, the podcast from the Mobile Ecosystem Forum that looks at the main agenda, the topic, the people, the company that make up our ecosystem. And this week, I'm happy to welcome for the second time, I should say, Eddie DeCurtis, the CEO and founder of Shush, one of a company that has made itself a name, or I should say silently or not so silently, in the last few months and year, I think. Now, Shush is remaining right now as one of those companies looking at communication, privacy, mobile environments, authentications, mixing all together, famous for the, Shush, silent authentications. And more we should ask to Eddie about what they do and what happened in this world, which includes telecom APIs, as somebody else would refer to as well. And so welcome, first of all. Welcome again, Eddie. How are you?
Thank you, Dario. Great to be here. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Eddie. Before I start, a quick of a check, because congratulations, you won a MEFFYS, an industry award from the Mobile Ecosystem Forum, voted by the member of the industry, so there's no jury out there. It's a people. Everybody winning the MEFFYS should claim they're leading the future, because that's an innovation awards.
Yes.
But what does actually winning here say? What does it say about Shush? What's next? What's your big thing in innovation?
It was an amazing validation from the industry, right? So the industry actually, like you said, voted for us to win. And to be a company that was new in this, new, we launched, like I said, when I accepted the award, it was 368 days earlier, I announced it at Mobile World Congress. So getting that validation, and especially from my peers and from the industry in general, was a big deal for us. I mean, it truly means a lot, right? Because it was people that we have worked with over the course of a year, truly validating what we're delivering to the mobile ecosystem. So we hold it in very, very high honor to winning that award. So it's much appreciated.
Great. Everybody talks about disruption, Eddie, but from where you are standing, what's real? What's hype? What's really happening today in the world of telecom APIs?
Well, there's a lot of disruption going on in the industry and just in general. But to specifically talk about what we're doing at Shush and what's going on in the network authentication ecosystem, there's a lot of what I would like to say, for lack of a better term, misinformation. We did at your great event in Mobile World Congress, the fact or fiction. You have it up on the MEFF website and the YouTube channel, and I recommend people who truly want to get through the noise that's being said in there to watch it, to get an understanding of what's real and what's not real. And once we get through that noise, I guess, you'll start seeing the destruction maybe slowing down a little bit, right? So, but I guess this industry has always been about disruption, right? The more I guess the successful companies have been those disruptors, and I think Shush is a disruptor in the space because we're bringing things to market a lot quicker. Where while we're focused on Camara, right, and making sure that we're Camara certified on the 6 Camara stable APIs, right? There's a whole list of other APIs that came out of the Camara group, right? And their version 0.002. That's not stable. That's not what I would consider anywhere near stable. There are other APIs that there's a lot of buzz around, but there is no business case. We're not in the business of selling, a API or working with a mobile network operator to expose an API that is not going to drive revenue, right? So, putting more structure around that is very, very important, as well as innovating, right? So we have 44 APIs that we support, of course, of the 6 Chimera APIs that are stable, we support. But what's really, really exciting, and you probably saw the press release this week where we announced support for TS43 EAPA, aka authentication, which is the holy grail of authentication. We believe we're the only company currently supporting that. We had a conference, the GSMA with Henry, was extremely bullish on it. But it truly is. It takes away all the roadblocks. So it works on any network interface, satellite to mobile, Wi-Fi. It's true, 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 the holy grail of authentication because you're authenticating against a SIM card using a standard GSMA protocol. So it's amazing what we have accomplished.
I think we'll get back to that. I think, can I call it Sherlock? Just in case it yes.
Yes, Sherlock's the name of the platform. Yes.
Exactly. I should probably something catchy with the actual numbers. But we'll come back to that. Before I do that, let me ask you instead to do some of the work, my work in me, which is talking about the agenda for MEF, because MEF position itself as a voice of a global mobile ecosystem. But from your perspective, what's the one conversation that the industry is still having loudly enough a list? So what is the big agenda we need to look at?
The whole ecosystem is shifting, right? Google, RCS, that whole kind of thing they're still, after years and years and years of working on it, trying to get their arms more around it. And it's frustrating to me because, as you know, I've been involved with RCS for many, many years, right? There's still struggles there. I think the world of SMS is fundamentally changing. If it's not from, let's say, network authentication moving OTP, but marketing, etc., that's all kind of moving. And there are disruptors out there that are really kind of taking the lead. In the, I don't want to say demise. It's not the demise. I think it's a share shift. I think it's shifting, right? Where OTP and stuff is shifting to, let's say, network authentication or something else, right? Where marketing is shifting from SMS per se, right? Like the heavy, the more rich media marketing, right, is moving to RCS, Apple Chat for Business, WhatsApp for Business, etc. So you're starting to see the ecosystem really coming around to embracing more rich kind of media, rich kind of services. There is a place for a lot of the companies that are currently in this space, but I think you're going to start seeing, if you don't shift, if you don't pivot, and you don't embrace the technology, the AI that's coming around, the conversational experience being implemented, I think you're going to be left behind. But I think there is there are a number of companies sitting in a very, very unique position because they're involved in a lot of the disruption, which is good. But I think some of the ecosystem still has the blinders on, right? And we tend to do a lot of cause a lot of the issues on our own. AIT, the level of fraud that's still out there, the overpricing, not being able to bear in the market, not knowing what the market would bear. I still think we still trip over ourselves, but we're getting better at it. Let's say we're getting better at not tripping over ourselves, to actually listening to each other, discussing it, and truly trying to come out on the other side more successful.
Well, definitely a lot, still more work to be done in the industry. I'm glad to say that
Yes, agreed.
the forum, the places to talk out some of those issues are still here. We and many others are there
Mhm.
to listen. But today we are also here to listen about Sherlock, I did promise. So I want to bring you back, not
Uh-huh.
just to the topic of general in the ecosystem, but more about what Shush do. And so let me start with some key identifier for people out there. So very simple, kind of yes, no question. So Shush is a company that has been founded 1 year ago to sell to mobile operators. Is that true?
Correct. Yes.
And the second question is you sell not SMS, not but a silent network technology which is API based for them to
Yes.
identify, mostly is identifications, what we are doing.
Yes. So yes, but there's more to that. So not only do we support,
Is that your 40? I want to come to your 44 APIs that you mentioned.
yes, yeah. So it's we like to say you come for number verification and you stay for SIM swap, right? So it's more than just silent network authentication or number verify or header enrichment, however you want to call it. But there's all these other APIs that you stay for, and the brand and the banks want it.
Can you give us a few more flavors? Because at 44, you mentioned number
Hmm.
authentication, which is this number the
Yeah.
number you is a
Yep.
number put in the field, the number that I'm talking to, kind of things.
That's correct.
You also mentioned SIM swap.
Hmm.
Has it been changed? This SIM has it been changed recently or
Hmm.
not? What other things can you do with it? Who can use it?
But you always thought it was going to be the banks and the fintechs. And then you have companies like TikTok, right? Who are running in, or social media. I don't want to just call out TikTok, but social media in general. And a lot of these countries around the world are saying you have to have an age verification. Well, I don't know about you, but my children don't use social media via the computer. They use their mobile devices. So how do you do an age verification? Is that individual over the age of, let's say, 16 years old? And in some mobile networks, that information is tracked, right? That information is in the network. So where you have number verification, is this Dario? Did Dario change out his SIM card? Is Dario over the age of 16? I mean, I'm not sure about that, but I hope so you are, right? So, but there's so much more information. What the device type? Are you in a call? So a lot of the fraudsters will call you up and say, "Hey, Dario, I'm from the Bank of Italy. I'm going to send you a code. Tell me if that's code." The banks can actually check if you're doing a transaction, if you're sitting in a call, if there's a call state going on, right? So that right there was a massive fraud incident that was going on in the UK. So that's a huge UK issue. Um, let's say there's so much. I mean, there's so many. Have you changed your device? There may be valid reasons, but have you changed your device? Are you roaming? What's your device status? Is it on? What are you as a customer? Are you a prepaid, postpaid? So there's all these different network specific attributes and data that sits within the network that can be exposed to trusted third parties outside the four walls of the MNO. And we provide that platform to the mobile network operator so they can actually generate revenue from it.
Well, let's talk about Sherlock then. Sherlock, because that's what I did promise. So
That's the platform. Yes, that's correct.
Eric, that's the
Mhm.
platform. Now, you have recently made an announcement with GSMA referring to their TS.43 release 11. It brings silent, but silent authentication, but many other SIM-based authentication services to your work.
Yes,
It does really include a lot of things. It is,
it does.
it is a bit of a monster out there. What does it do, which requires, it improves and requires Shush Sherlock in there? Can you give us a bit of a high?
Without getting into the secret
Yeah,
sauce of it all, the difference between the way we do it and the way so the carrier doesn't need to be on release 11 for our version for it to work, right? Um, it Release 11 tells the entitlement gateway, and I don't know if you know what an entitlement gateway is. So when you turn on, let's say you turn on your mobile device and you're in your home Wi-Fi, that's an entitlement. That's voice over Wi-Fi or voice over VoLTE. That's an entitlement. iMessage is an entitlement. When you an Apple Watch, that's an entitlement where you kind of can cohabitate, right? So iMessage on your computer, that's an entitlement. So TS43 utilizing version 11, utilizing the entitlement gateway, allows the device, the application, third party application, to use the SIM card to authenticate you via the entitlement gateway with inside the mobile network. Now, there's a release 11 allows for that, right? Really, now they're on release 12. Third party applications. It's the old back before release 11 came out, first party use cases were allowed, right? Now third party use cases are allowed. So third party applications are now allowed. But there's no for the way Sherlock is integrated into the network, there's you don't the carrier doesn't need to be on release 11 for this to work, right? And it works on satellite to mobile, Wi-Fi to mobile. It doesn't matter what network interface, fixed wireless access, it doesn't matter. It works with if the carrier has implemented Sherlock, because Sherlock is implementing and communicating and working with the network core for the mobile network operator. So when we made the announcement, what was so unique about it was there was no equipment upgrade that the carrier needed to do. So if a carrier is on entitlement version 8, there is no need to upgrade to 11 until they're ready, right? When they're ready to upgrade to 11 or 12, they're more than happy to. But to get this TS43 authentication to work, it doesn't matter what version of entitlement they're on. It works today. And we have tested it.
So let me bring it back to a user perspective myself. I am
Mm-hmm.
now looking at some of the concerns that people might have had. Yes, I can verify my phone number once I'm using the network
Mm-hmm.
of my network provider. But now,
Mm-hmm.
whether I am on Wi-Fi or if I'm using some other situation, some other even network of some sort, I'm still
Mm-hmm.
able to confirm all the details to my
Exactly.
operator without using
Mm-hmm.
their network themselves. So the entitlement
Yep.
and the private user identity management services work together. So that's a big user case for me, right? You can use it if you're at home using Wi-Fi, just like you use
That's correct.
VoLTE or SMS over
Yep.
IP. Now you can also use
Mm-hmm.
authenticate over
Exactly.
IP. Is that something like that?
That's correct. That's correct. So that's a great example. SMS over IP, right? When you're home on Wi-Fi, it's SMS over IP, right? Or it's iMessage or whatever. You're still getting your messages, right? Well, same thing. You go into your banking app and you're on Wi-Fi on the airplane or home or in a location that has no coverage, and you hit red login like you normally would do, it will in the back use the TS43 client that's on the device, right? Because every device has a TS43 client, and use the SIM card to authenticate you against the network. Just like it would authenticate you if you're on the 5G or 4G network, this will authenticate you silently, seamlessly, and ubiquitous. So simple, seamless, silent, and now ubiquitous.
Now, I'll take one step back for every step
Mm-hmm.
forward I take. So what that leaves in terms of Camara with GSMA? Now, GSMA partner with you, they announced it. Is this a part of a Camara telco APIs, open gateways approach
No,
as we know it? No, it isn't.
it's not. It's a GSM. It's using the GSMA standard. However, it is open gateway, but it works in unison, right? It works together with Camara. So let's just say, right, you're on a Wi-Fi, so you authenticate, right? You still need to use Camara or another version of SIM swap to check to see if the SIM swap. Now, TS43 does support SIM swap and a few others. It does. But you still don't need to do that because SIM swap, you don't need to be on 5G to check for SIM swap. That's what the bank is going to do or the fintech is going to do, but behind the scenes anyway, right? Authentication, though, you either need to, that is when you're communicating with the network. All some of those other Chimera APIs make a tremendous amount of sense that are going to happen still behind the scenes. So this works in unison with Open Gateway, with Chimera, with the other APIs that are out there, to give the banks, the fintechs, the social medias, anybody who's doing this, a holistic view of everything. So this works in conjunction, just like biometrics works in conjunction, just like other multi-factor authentications all work in conjunction. They all work together to end up protecting the consumer and in turn protecting the mobile network operator.
Well, at one point, the industry, the finance industry at first was presented with the request of a second factor authentication. And that became SMS. It was kind of simple. It was a one solution for everything. The world you're now describing, it's very complicated, isn't it? It's not just SMS. There's a lot of things out there. So whose role is it to make it simple for the enterprises, even for the operators out there? Because a lot of them don't think they fully have embraced all the complexities you just mentioned that things you could have.
So the goal is one of the goals of Shush is to make this super easy for the network operator. We got it down to a matter of days to get them up and live, but that's just not one piece of it, right? Just because, let's say, you upgrade your network or you do X or you do Y, you think you're done. You're not done, right? There's privacy, legal, and all that. So putting a team together, headed up by John Morrow, who built this for 4 years at T-Mobile, launched it, came up with the idea, well, the inception to the execution, and ran it for 4 years at T-Mobile with probably the most successful network API authentication solutions out there, making tremendous amounts of money. So having people like John being able to walk into the carrier and explaining, and yes, it's complicated. It's all part of the three-legged stool of you need a platform, you need network integration, but you have business operations. It's a whole business operations piece that we bring to the mobile network operator, right? And we help them get through that level of uncertainty, the level of fear, to explain what is required. And we work closely with their legal and regulatory and privacy and network security organizations and the technical organizations to help them and guide them along the path. And once you get a number of those meetings under your belt, it becomes we're all driving in the same direction. And that's what's very, very important. Just throwing in a platform and saying, here you go, that's not going to work on this. This is the first time a mobile network operator is ever allowing CP&I data outside their four walls. There is a level of panic there, right? And rightfully so, that needs to be articulated and worked with them to explain by doing this, this is how you do it. This is how you maintain control and security, etc. And that and gives them the comfort level to move forward. And I think that's very, very important. That's probably the most important part of our job, right? There can always be a technical solution. There can always be a network integration solution. But understanding the business and understanding all the pieces that go along with that is probably the most important part of our job.
Eddie, I was afraid that we're going to have too many questions for you. I do. So, but I'm not going to leave you unless I ask 2 more questions. One of them is what we've just seen, and far from wanting to be the concerned person or put in water, but we've seen something horrible happening recently, which is one of a giant and one of the most advanced telecom in the world, SK Telecom, had its system hacked recently. The HSS. They have dealt, I would say, afterwards in a incredibly forward ways of sending new SIMs to people and customers and so on. But the incident showed how a system where it was supposed to be free from, SIM swapping, etc., was really hit at the core of its security. Do we need to be afraid of that as an industry now?
In general, yeah, right. I mean, just look, that was bad, and I think they're still doing the forensic understanding of what really happened. Right? They did step up and say everybody gets new SIMs, but I don't know if they have it HPE, HSS, or I don't know who the vendor was that they had. But those systems are not easy to get into. And I'm not going to speculate and say someone gave out a password, but do I think someone actually hacked it? No. Do I think it was socially engineered and someone got in? And we'll know more once they finish the forensic. But this is just speculating. That's what I think happened. I think as a company to come up and say, hey, this is what happened. Here's everybody's getting a new SIM. Everybody's getting this, that, and the other thing, I think was the right thing to do. I think that, but it's not just that. It's the fact that the United States had Chinese hackers inside the network from us. Think about that. Inside the network for months, right? Those are always going to be a challenge for the mobile network operators. And a lot of that is not, someone, pounding into the network trying to get access control. That's all social engineering. That's phishing. That's scamming. That's, bad actors working there, allowing people into the network, right? What the mobile network operators have to always constantly be on alert for this, which is why, and we talked about this a number of times, which is why what we're doing, working closely with the mobile network operators, allowing them to invite only companies in and truly vetting companies in to access network authentication APIs. This is not a marketplace. This is market. My opinion of marketplaces. Marketplaces is an unvetted way of letting someone access your CPNI or network intelligence data. I think it's a pipe dream. I think what eventually is going to happen, network security is going to get involved. And I don't care what CEO of any major wireless operator will say about marketplaces and this, that, and the other thing. Network security, their number one job is to protect that network. They can overrule anybody within the company, period. And that's probably why you haven't heard anything from network security yet. And everybody could talk about, oh, we're going to do this marketplace and we're going to do that marketplace. And I'm telling you, there is no way AT&T in the United States is going to allow somebody in some country to access their network APIs, regardless if it's quality on demand, network slicing, or network authentication, without that individual or company being massively vetted and approved before they access that data. So that's the challenge. So there's a security issue that we all have to maintain. And then there's the business aspect we have to maintain. There's a fine line, but security will always win.
Well, I promised that only two questions. The first one was on security. I get to see that it almost sounds like there is nothing safe anymore, there's nothing holy anymore. Mobile operators, just like everything else right now, might be under a lot of scrutiny for security. The honeypots, that's where the money is right now, so that's where people are going after.
What do they say? When they ask the bank robber, why do you rob the bank? That's where the money is.
Because that's where money is. And that's nowadays identity is the money. It's a key. So that's what we're seeing.
That's
so
right.
Let's get ready for more of that. Unsettling as it is. The second question, then you already mentioned it, and I didn't know exactly where you were going, but here we go. It's more of a business side. So you are selling to operators. Operators are not usually selling to directly, usually, but some of them are. And then you got aggregators. We now are seeing aggregators of operators' APIs because of the differentiation that you mentioned. Well, I don't know if that's what you mentioned by marketplace. But my question to you is, how is it? How is this market going around to be? How is it going to look like? Is it going to be like the SMS market right now, or is it completely different? Where will I go and buy stuff?
It's completely different. So there's two. So for network authentication per se, we'll just talk about network authentication. There's two ways that it's going to be sold. The mobile network operator is going to sell to their enterprises that already have it, right? And you're going to have your aggregators, the Twilios of the world, etc. Right? Twilio's Authy business is, I think it's over $1 billion. That's what they do. They have the APIs. They sell the APIs to the brands, and the brands consume them from the mobile network operator, right? The banks, etc. We have a global partnership with Twilio to accelerate the network authentication business case, right? Twilio wants to move, well, I don't want to speak for them. Twilio wants network authentication, right? They want network authentication. They want solid network authentication. They want to use the APIs. It's just more secure. It's easier. They have all the stuff, right? So they partnered with Shush to accelerate adoption of network authentication with the mobile network operators. They have the brands, we have the mobile network operators, or we're selling to the mobile network operators. So it's kind of like a marriage made in heaven, right? They're bringing the brands and we're bringing the mobile operators, and we meet in the middle. Well, it's not exclusive, right? So there's opportunities for likes of Cinch and Infobip and all these other aggregators who have all these banks out there, and fintechs and social media companies and just general brands that want to be able to use network authentication. So it's going to be similar. But the days of exclusivities, the days of these crazy type of deals, I believe is over, because the mobile network operator owns this data. This is not you're sending a one and done SMS over the fence. This is actually an asynchronous or synchronous messaging between the bank and the mobile network operator's network and customer information. If it's KYC, or is it silent network authentication, or is it SIM swap, or it's age verification, that communication is bilateral, right? It's going two ways, right? So there is no, I need a firewall, or I need this. Those exclusive arrangements are over.
Well, I think we'll have to come back and see where this market goes. But in terms of our time allocated for these perspectives, we've got plenty to move back and think for now. There is a lot more that needs to be done in this industry, for good or for worse. This is the talk of the town as well. So,
well, we're trying to guide everybody, and we're trying to educate the market and work closely with everybody to make this successful. This is a mobile network operator's lifeblood, right? So we're making them successful. That's my goal. That's the goal of Shush. That's the goal of the entire team here at Shush, is to make sure the mobile network operator sits in the middle of that universe. And that's exactly where they belong. It's their data.
Great. With those words, we conclude. And only to say thanks again to Eddie DeCurtis, the CEO and founders of Shush, the companies working in the telco APIs right now, bringing new solutions and platforms to the mobile operators. From my side, I'm Dario Betti. This was Perspectives, the podcast from the Mobile Ecosystem Forum. Find us on MEF Radio, on YouTube right now, as well as on Apple Podcast and Spotify. But always come to our website at mef.mobi to hear more from Eddie and many others in the ecosystem. For now, this is all. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Perspectives in Mobile. Join us next as we explore telecoms, technology, and mobile innovations. Stay tuned, stay connected, and let's unlock the mobile potential together.